These images are disturbing and they are hard to watch. A Pennsylvania minor league baseball player has lost his job after video surfaced of him beating his girlfriend to the ground.
Behind this door, horror. A young family desperate to be saved from this man.
Well, only on Fox tonight, the tragic story of how quickly domestic violence can turn deadly. A young mother killed the father of her newborn charge.
We hear about horror like this, but rarely see it. The body cam vision was released by police to show you the dangerous domestic violence situations officers are facing.
Image or car. A third person in the car tried to force Lindsay out. That's when Lindsay punched her in the face, slammed her into the car multiple times, and then strangled her. Genesis was 6 months pregnant.
Today, I stand before you to address a pressing issue that plagues our society: domestic violence against women and children. This heinous act of abuse, both physical and emotional, is a stark reality for far too many individuals, leaving lasting scars that go beyond the physical realm.
Women and children, the most vulnerable members of our society, are often subjected to unspeakable acts of violence within the confines of their homes where they should feel safest. The statistics are alarming, with countless cases going unreported and victims suffering in silence, trapped in a cycle of fear and abuse.
The government has stated that at least 17,600 child abuse cases has been recorded in the year 2023. Among these women at the age of 14 to 49 years old has been recorded or have said that they have experienced physical, emotional, or sexual abuse within their spouses. It is recorded that at least 17.5% of them have experienced one of those cases, and the most prevalent among them, at the record of 15.2%, is emotional abuse.
It is our moral obligation to stand, fight, and speak out against domestic violence and raise our voices along with the survivors in solidarity, providing them resources and support to break the chains of abuse.
Education and awareness are key in combating domestic violence. By fostering a culture of respect, equality, and empathy, we can create a safer environment for women and children, free from the shackles of violence and fear.
So domestic violence is a serious issue that harms families and undermines the safety of homes. It includes physical violence like hitting, pushing, as well as emotional abuse, such as yelling and controlling behaviors. This problem affects people of all ages and backgrounds, and its impact can be long-lasting and devastating. To address domestic violence effectively, we must raise awareness about its prevalence and the different forms it can take. Education about healthy relationships and warning signs of abuse is crucial in empowering individuals to recognize and prevent such behaviors. Additionally, supporting survivors by providing access to shelters, counseling services, and legal assistance is essential in helping them to rebuild their lives. Furthermore, holding perpetrators accountable through strong laws and policies is vital to prevent future incidents of domestic violence. By working together as a community to advocate for change, support survivors, and enhance consequences for abusers, we can create a safer home and more compassionate society for all.
Violence against women and children is a serious public health concern, with costs at multiple levels of society. Although violence is a threat to everyone, women and children are particularly susceptible to victimization because they often have fewer rights or lack appropriate means of protection. Violence affects millions of women and children around the world, though those living in poverty are some of the most vulnerable to a range of everyday forms of violence, including sexual violence and domestic violence. But we are talking now about domestic violence. So when a man assaults his wife or partner, it's seen as a family problem or family matter, handled inside the home, instead reported to authorities. So domestic violence against children is frequent, and courts are ill-equipped to handle these cases and can't respond when their women and children desperately need protection. In 9262, also known as the Anti-Violence Against Women in Their Child Act of 2004 in the Philippines, it defines violence against women and children as any act resulting in physical, sexual, psychological, or economic harm. It outlines 4 forms of violence: physical, sexual, emotional, and financial abuse. Raising awareness about domestic violence is key to supporting victims. Awareness campaigns can provide information about resources such as hotlines, shelters, counseling, and legal aid. This knowledge can be life-saving for victims who may not know where to turn for help.
An advocate for domestic violence, awareness, and prevention. I stand firmly against all forms of abuse and violence within relationships. So domestic violence is a pervasive issue that affects individuals of all backgrounds, and it is essential to address it with urgency, empathy, and commitment to creating safer communities for everyone. So one of these is raise awareness. So it is crucial to educate individuals about the signs of domestic violence, the resources available for survivors, and the importance of speaking out against abuse. So by raising awareness, we can empower survivors to seek help and break the cycle of violence. So by advocate for change, to advocate for the change is advocacy involves speaking against injustice, supporting policy initiatives that protect survivors, so holding perpetrators and also accountable for the action. So by advocating for systematic change, we can create a society where domestic violence is not tolerated. So for call to action is that speak out. If you see suspect domestic violence, then speak out and offer support to the survivor. So silence only perpetuates the cycle of abuse. So you can just speak out if you see the suspect of domestic violence. That is the call for action.
Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can end the cycle of domestic violence and create a world where women and children are protected, cherished, and empowered to live without fear.
Domestic violence starts pretty much slowly and gradually, so the woman doesn't notice it. The guy comes on like a whirlwind. He's polite, he's very affectionate, but little by little, as he gets used to the relationship and as she gets used to him, he does subtle things. And the example I always give is domestic violence starts with the word shut up.
Think about it. How do you prove a crime that leaves no physical marks and the only witness is the victim? Emotional abuse is characterized by a systematic, persisting and demeaning, scornful, devaluing, humiliating behavior from your partner. A partner that controls all your social life, financial decision, and manipulate and pressures you emotionally.
There are many different reasons why someone might be an abuser. A lot of the times going back to their family structure. If there was domestic violence in the home, if there was child abuse in the home, that is how they see feelings, anger being expressed through physical violence, through emotional violence, through language, through psychological abuse. It's how they have power and control over someone.
Going on in the city. Also, a lot of people in the legal system blame the woman for staying in the relationship instead of just leaving, because many women do return to a relationship, not because so much she wants to be abused, which is what a lot of people say is the reason she returns, but because maybe economic reasons, maybe that she really loves them, maybe for religious reasons or for the kids.
Dance. Let's say you have a deep fear of being abandoned, then setting boundaries is an almost impossible act. But when you can accept and understand your own survival strategies, then it becomes possible for you to do something today that might be better. Accepting can be painful because it forces you to see the reality of your own avoidance and relate to the reality of the abusive relationship. I asked you in the beginning what you were willing to do for love. And for many, it's a relevant question. Will you listen with respect even though you don't agree? Will you try to understand your partner's feelings and motives even though it feels like they just want to annoy you? Will you show affection through lots of hugs and kisses and back off when your partner needs space? But sometimes you also need to ask yourself, what am I not willing to do for love?
In my youth, when I was younger with my stepfather, part of the emotional abuse that he enacted upon me was telling me that I wouldn't be loved in the future. I would never have a girlfriend or a wife, that nobody cared about me. And I think once I did have a wife, once I did have somebody that cared about me, I was so afraid of losing it that kind of fed into the abusive cycle.
And in the household where I was brought up, in my home, in my culture, you're taught to be in control. You're in control of your house at all times, whenever you're there, and especially when you're not there. So there's a level of fear that you put into your home, knowing that even though I'm not here, it still better be in control. So what you want done better get done, and knowing that by that control, everybody conforms and moves to the way you want them to do.
In households where there is domestic violence and children living there, the children are affected in many ways. First of all, where there's abuse for the wife, there's usually abuse on the children. It could be because the child's trying to intervene on behalf of the mother and will get injured, or because the father's just abusive across the board. The child may also be affected emotionally, psychologically with the traumas. The males will probably end up being aggressive and statistically will probably abuse their future partners. And the female children will learn that love and abuse comes together. And she may not be aware that there's a difference between love and aggression.
Will you spend the rest of our lives with me?
Yes!
What are you doing?
Till death do you part.
I do. Well, maybe I wouldn't have to worry about guys looking at you if you were dressed like a fucking whore. Where have you been? Look at me when I'm talking to you, do you hear me? I didn't mean to do that. You should have just listened. Who's that?
okay? Wait, is that a bruise? Are you sure you're okay?
I'm okay. Who's gonna take you in but me? You'll never gonna see your son again. How about next time? I'll make sure you're never gonna leave the house.
YWCA Hotline. How can I help you? Every day, 24,000 women are abused by someone they love. Just one phone call can help put a stop to it.